Hey guys, coming at you today with a delicious summer cookie recipe. Something I don't do very often because I always put cookie recipes out at Christmas time, but I figured out a delicious, soft on the inside, a little crispy on the outside, keto lemon sugar cookie recipe. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia and I'm a pastry chef with a sweet tooth. And I'm here to show you all the tips and tricks on how to make the best keto recipes possible. So if you could help me out by please making sure you are subscribed down there. People get unsubscribed all the time. Hit the bell icon below to make sure you are notified when new recipes come up every Saturday. Give the video a thumbs up and definitely leave me a comment below, whether it's a heart or just an emoji or a thanks. It all helps my channel grow and to bring you new keto recipes every Saturday. Today, a delicious keto lemon sugar cookie recipe. And this wasn't super hard to figure out. The only thing I really wanted to figure out was the best way to get these cookies shaped. So I tried scooping them first and it does work. I scoop them, flatten them a little bit and refrigerate them and then throw them in the oven. But I figured out an even better way to do it that I think works really good. And it's kind of like just getting a log of sugar cookie dough from the store and using it. It's pretty similar to my sugar cookie dough recipe, so I'll link that up there for you. The only difference is we're adding some lemon juice and lemon zest, and we're gonna make a little lemon frosting for the top of these. I'm only making a small batch. I did do a double batch of this and it worked out great, but I did it into 2 logs. So 1 stick or 4 ounces or 112 grams of, I use salted butter. If you do use unsalted, you just got to add probably a 1/4 teaspoon of salt to your dry ingredients. Always scrape your paper because that was only 101 grams. It's never 100. It's supposed to be 112 grams in a stick of butter, but it never is. But if you're within a couple of grams, you're good to go. To that, we're adding about a 1/2 cup of sweetener. I use a classic granular Monkford erythritol blend. Any 1-for-1 sweetener will work. I don't think one of these recipes will work with just a tiny bit of stevia. You might be able to cut this back half if you really don't like super sweet recipes, but you need a bulk of sweetener. It's what helps our cookies get a little bit crispy on the edges. So 96 grams or a 1/2 cup. To this, we should only need 1 lemon to put juice in the cookie and for the frosting. You might need 2 depending on how juicy your lemons are, but I'm going to zest this. Van tried to cut it. I didn't actually need it cut. I was just trying to keep him busy, so it's already a little bit cut. But we're gonna zest half this into the bowl and then do half into another bowl for the frosting. Make sure you get all off the back. This is one of my favorite gadgets to have in the kitchen. It's really great for zesting lemons, oranges, limes, garlic, cloves, ginger, stuff like that. So it'll be a link below in the Amazon links. We're gonna get this on the mixer with the paddle attachment and get this beating. I'm not gonna do it right now just because I want to not have the noise in the background. But while that's going, you can get everything else ready to go. So you're only gonna need a tiny bowl for your glaze that we're making. It's not really a frosting, it's more of a glaze that will harden on your cookie. So you want all the zest. So we'll set that aside. This lemon was room temperature, so it's really juicing good. If you're using straight out of the fridge, you might want to pop it into the microwave for 20 seconds or so. They'll juice a lot better when they're warm. Okay, so that's ready. I already have 1 egg out to come to room temperature. Then it's just dry ingredients and 1 teaspoon of lemon extract. That is optional. It is pretty lemony without it, but I wanted it very lemony. The dry ingredients are pretty simple. It's just an unflavored whey protein isolate. I use Isopure because it's 0 carbs per scoop. Some coconut flour, which I prefer to almond flour because I think it's less grainy than almond flour. And you need a lot less of it in the recipe. If you do use almond flour, it should work. If you use 3 times as much as I'm using coconut flour, and then just a little bit of xanthan gum and a little bit of baking powder. And that's it for the dry ingredients. I'll put up all the measurements on the screen for you while I weigh that out. You're gonna wanna stop and scrape down your butter and sweetener mixture every once in a while. And then you're gonna add the 1 tablespoon of lemon juice, 1 teaspoon of lemon extract, 1 egg, and then your dry ingredients, and the dough is ready to go. Because I have such a big mixer, it's harder to do smaller batches of things for me. Like, it takes forever for my stuff to whip up because there's such little bit in the bottom that it doesn't scrape as much as if I had a lot in there. Adding the liquid definitely helps dissolve the sweetener a little bit. That's why you want it nice and fluffy, is because you want your sweetener kind of dissolved in there. You could use a powdered sweetener if you want. It is a little bit more pricey, and I always seem to be running out of powdered, and I don't have time to powder my own sweetener. So you probably could use a powdered sweetener in here. It'd be the same amount of grams as the granular, but not the same cup measurement. Make sure everything's off your paddle, because I got a ton of butter stuck on there still that isn't gonna have any egg in it. Once the egg is really incorporated, you can add your dry ingredients, and then that is the dough. Should form a dough. Just give the bottom a scrape, because I have some dry ingredients down there. And there is your dough. The only thing that kind of sucks about this recipe is it does need to chill for quite a while because it's in a log form. You can do it the night before and then slice it the next day. I'm gonna do it at 2 hours today. I checked it at 1 hour when I did my testing, and it wasn't solid enough to slice. It's just mushes too much if you don't let it harden enough. So you gotta let it harden enough so that you can slice it into nice thick discs. So I kind of loosely shape it into a log to start. It's kind of like Play-Doh. Then I'll show you my trick with the plastic wrap. Okay. So I give it a roll in the plastic wrap. A little. I figured the best dimensions for this was a log about a little bit less than 2.5 inches across. About 2 1/4. So we want to be able to get 18 slices out of this. So we're gonna put this into the fridge and let it chill. After about an hour, I take it out and give it another little roll because it'll flatten on the bottom because it's so soft. So I give it another little roll at like an hour. But once it starts getting really solid, you don't have to worry about it. So into the fridge to chill. Meet you back here in just a second for you to slice them and get them baking. Okay, the dough's been chilling for about 2 hours, so I think it's ready to slice. I'm gonna get my pans ready and we'll get it out and start slicing. So I'm reusing the pans I used last time. I just flipped the parchment paper over. So I fit 8 on each one. I might try to do one more here, that way I get 9 and 9, and that way I don't have to use a third pan. But I usually cut them and then throw them back in the fridge while the oven is preheating. So let's get them sliced up. They are nice and hard. I forgot to roll it after the hour, so I do have kind of a flat spot, which is annoying. But try to cut it in half first, which it's at 5 1/2-ish, 2 3/4-ish. Certainly eyeball it. And then you can't cut it in half and then into 4s. I did that the first time by accident. You need to do 9. So I was going by like about a little over a quarter of an inch on each one. How many did I get? 2, 4, 6, 8. I only got 8 again. Well, I guess we can try to get 10 out of this. I think it was a little bit thicker on the inside, so I'm going to do those ones smaller. 1, 2, wah, wah. I think these ones are a little bit too big. The middle of the roll was a little bit big, so set it over on your pan like that. These are going to spread a tiny bit. So I think our log was a little bit too short and stout. So I think the last time I did it, it was 6 inches long. Once it's pretty chilled, you can kind of shape it how you want it to. We'll put these into the fridge, start on the second pan. What I actually weighed them out as was 20 grams. So you can also kind of gauge, you can cut your first one and gauge how much 20 grams is. See, that was a little bit over, so still, even after I cut it. So like this one on the edge is 20 grams. So you want it that thick, and about that big around, and they'll be exactly, you'll get 18 cookies out of it. So it all depends on how you cut them. You can also just scoop them like I said. Okay, we got to preheat our oven to 350 and then we're gonna bake them. My oven is preheated to 350. I like to bake one pan at a time, but that's just me being kind of anal about it all looking the same. I don't want these to be very brown on top. I want them just golden around the edges. So I always just bake right in the center of my oven with the pan horizontal. I'm gonna get one pan into the oven. It should take anywhere from 6 to 8 minutes. I keep a close eye on them when they get at 6 minutes and just let them go until the edges are a little bit brown, but the tops are still kind of pale. So first pan going in. Set the timer for 4 minutes. The first half of the bake is going to take a little bit longer because they're so cold. When you spin them, it's going to take less time for them to bake. I always do 4, turn it, set it for 3, but keep an eye on it after like 2 minutes. It's after 4 minutes. Now because I pulled them out and showed you, they are probably going to take the 3 or 4 minutes to bake. The more your oven doors open, the more you're checking on them, the longer they're going to take to bake. So just keep that in mind. If you're checking a lot, that might be why they need a little bit longer to bake. Okay, so this guy got a little too dark for my liking, but it's because it was turned the one way for 5 minutes, even though I normally only do like 3 minutes, but because my oven kept kicking on, that's what happens. So I'm gonna throw the other pan into the oven and it should only take 8 minutes because I'm not gonna be showing you anything. And then we gotta wait for these to cool and then we'll make the icing, which is super simple. Okay, that was 8 minutes. You just don't want them to look raw in the middle anymore, so wet. They all look pretty dry in the middle, so that's what you want. So I just have my half a lemon zest, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. You probably could even add more if you have it. I don't think it'll change the carb count too much. And then you just need 90 grams or about 3/4 of a cup of powdered sweetener. And to that we just need 1 to 3 tablespoons of a low carb milk of choice. I use the So Delicious coconut milk. This is to get it to the right consistency. So depending on how much lemon juice you use, if you weigh your ingredients or use a cup, it'll all depend. I always say start with less and add as you go because just adding a tiny bit extra could make it too runny. I'm gonna do like half. And it goes from thick to runny in no time flat. Okay, so just a tiny bit more. So probably 2 tablespoons altogether. I'm not even gonna add all that. You want it thick enough that it won't all drip off your cookie when you go to put it on. I think that's good. So almost 2 full tablespoons. Okay, now you just gotta wait for your cookies to be completely cooled. You can always transfer them to a cooling rack in order to cool them faster. If you do make your frosting before they're cool, just make sure you're moving it around every once in a while because it will like harden on the top. These ones are a little bit darker than I wanted them. But it is kind of important to have them all the same weight or thickness. They're still going to taste good. They're just not going to be as moist, I think, of a cookie. Like as soft on the inside. So if you use all the same ingredients I do, this whole batch of cookies is only 10.5 grams of net carbs. All the macros will be below. I always give total carbs, sugar, alcohols, all that. So if you go by total carbs, it'll be below. But 10.5 grams net carbs, 3 for 2 grams of net carbs. Should be just enough for all your cookies. That one might be a little bit raw in the middle. You might try that one because it's a little bit thick. Since I did have one less cookie, if you do get exactly 18 cookies, you might need a tiny bit more frosting. Those look pretty darn delicious. We'll let those chill for a little bit and then we'll try one. The frosting will harden out of the fridge. It'll set quicker in the fridge. These will last out on your countertop for at least a week also. You can also freeze them and thaw them, they'll be fine. With the amount of butter in our keto baked goods, usually freezing and stuff is fine, and they always taste best at room temperature because of the butter in there. Okay, let's try one of these guys. This is an extra thick one, so it'll be nice and pillowy inside. Yeah, a little bit raw, but it's gonna be delicious. Who doesn't like a little underbaked cookie? It's like crumble cookie is so popular because they basically have undercooked cookies. It's soft and pillowy inside and crispy like on the bottom. I think that's what the erythritol does, is it gives the crispy edges to it. It's super soft in the middle. If you like soft cookies, definitely underbake, or if you like cookie dough, definitely underbake these a little bit. They're so good. Not even a carb per cookie. Super lemony, sweet, crunchy, soft, pillowy, delicious. If you don't like the cooling effect of erythritol, you can use bocha sweet powdered or allulose powdered. I don't mind the little bit of a cooling, especially with lemon, because it kind of masks it with the tartness. It's so good. So I hope you guys enjoy this keto summer cookie recipe. They are so yummy and just light and refreshing and delicious. You can probably make this recipe with my new keto shortbread cookie, so I'll link that up there for you, and just do the same kind of rolling and cutting thing with my shortbread recipe. I think it would work just as good. Let me know what other cookies you like for summertime. Don't forget to check out my Amazon links and the blog link to the full recipe in the description box below. Make sure you give the video a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and share with all your friends and family, and subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll be back with more keto dessert recipes. Bye guys. Happy keto baking.